Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loehding, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends. These are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, here we are, another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm super excited about my guest today. Just to give you a little teaser on him, he says that after graduation, he headed to college and realized shortly after that was not the correct next step. So he left college, joined the Marine Corps. He traveled to Norway, Okinawa, Fuji, Tokyo. He's got a list here, all the way to Africa and Spain. He was in communications for an artillery battery, and he served for 4 years. And so we're going to find out what he is up to. This is going to be exciting because of what he's doing now. So you guys got to stay tuned. But before we do that, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. So today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt is your guy. Whether YouTube films, short films, or a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, you're going to want to go to photosbywalt.com. All right, Michael, we're excited to get you on the show today. So Michael Sampeck, he is a franchise owner with Battle House, a laser tag arena. But I'm going to have him talk about this because this is not your boring laser tag where everybody just runs in circles shooting. And so he's got something cool going on here. And he says he found out about Battle House after his last deployment and approached them asking if he could open up a franchise here in Texas. And so fast forward to 2022. That is what he did. So here we are. Welcome to the show, Michael. So excited to have you here today.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to, tell my story, tell you what Battle House is, how it's different, because you definitely said it, that when people think laser tag, they think, oh, it's the plastic vest and the target scanner gun. And no, we're bringing our military experience to the industry of laser tag that hasn't been touched in 20 plus years. So definitely excited to be here and tell you more about Battle House overall and just, my path that not all paths are straight. They're not in one line. And so I'm excited to dig into those details and explain, why I was blessed, some of the challenges I hit, how I overcome them, and more importantly, the family support and friend support that I had to get here where I am today.
Yeah, you just touched upon, if we had to summarize that in Cliff Notes, you hit all the main points right there, right? Our paths are seldom ever linear. Every once in a while I meet somebody that they just know from the time, like I've met my doctor that I talked to yesterday very early on, decided he wanted to go into medicine. He kind of had a little different path, but he knew he wanted to go into medicine. I met another doctor that said the same thing, but I think most of us, we have no clue what we really plan to do. Like we have an idea, and then, and I say, even as you keep maturing and you get older, the plans change again, right? Because the priorities change. So I think that's the cool thing. And yes, I am excited to dig into this with you and learn a little bit more about your journey and why Battle House, so let's start there. I think that's where we should start. Let's start with Battle House. What is it? Tell us what it is and give us a little bit of, I know because you've told me, but for our audience who's looking at this and going, what is this about? How is this different from, the laser tag you get when you go to like Main Event or something like that? So take it away. You got this.
Absolutely. So Battle House is a tactical mission-based laser tag facility. We're really proud of that, and that's one of the biggest things that set us aside is you don't just run around chaotically in a dark room with plastic walls. You actually have objectives that you have to achieve. So like Call of Duty game modes like Capture the Flag, Search and Destroy, Domination, just to name a few, we have about 15 to 20 different game modes or different variations. So that's our main focal point, is the different missions that you have to interact with. The next really big thing is our arena. We have multiple locations with different sized arenas, but they're massive arenas with multiple two-story structures. The Plano location, the one that I own specifically, is 15,000 square feet. There's 8 two-story structures. They're all connected by catwalks, so you can go everywhere. And there's 4 staircases, so up, down, all through the buildings. There's a lot of angles that you have to watch out for. And the next thing is our equipment and our technology we're really proud of. All of the guns look like the real thing. So we have like a shotgun, an M4 sniper pistol. They have different damage rates, fire rates, reload rates. So it's not just everyone gets the same thing and then you just go in there. So you can pick what gun you like video games. If you like a more aggressive play style, maybe the shotgun, because you have to be a little bit closer. If you want to like protect the objective, then we suggest going that route. The next thing is you're going to play for an hour and a half. Most people, when we say that, they're like, whoa, that's way too much time. But then they play and come out and they're like, that was only an hour and a half. I'm like, yeah, no, exactly. Because you're going to play 6 to 7 different missions over the course of that hour and a half. And we actually have a flag you have to go capture, bring back. We have domination cubes where you press a button, it lights up your color, and you have to defend it or go find the other cubes. Or we have a fake suitcase bomb that you have to arm and disarm, and it makes a bunch of noise. So it's not just theoretical. They're actual physical props that you have to interact with, protect your team. You have to communicate. That's what's really awesome about Battle House is we get a lot of corporate events and birthday parties, but you have to talk together. If you just kind of do your own thing, you might win, you might not. But when people communicate, you can really see when the team works together. It's very fluid and you're like, okay, they're doing really well. And they're complete strangers because it's all open play. So it's really cool seeing families come together, strangers, friends, corporations, they interact. And then they're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Oh, and I didn't know your name before this, but now let's go grab drinks. And so it's really cool.
Yeah, I see it being a really good icebreaker for like a team event where like you have like maybe a new group of people that don't really know each other. And because I mean, like if you're in the middle of a laser tag game like that where you're having to work together, you're not going to be like, hey, I don't know you. We ain't going to talk, right? Because you're in that moment of trying to do this activity, right? And it just, I could see it being just a really good team building sport and a great icebreaker for organizations, companies, and different things like that, like you were saying. So. And I like that you guys do the missions too. It's not just like we were talking about this boring laser tag where you just go in there and everybody has these little plastic guns and you're hiding behind walls and you're just trying not to get shot at. You know, there's actually something, there's like a method to this madness, right? This laser tag madness.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword because the reason why I say that is when they hear laser tag, they think of the traditional laser tag.
Right.
The reason why that's a good thing is because there's nowhere around me like that. And the industry, like I said, hasn't been touched. So that's a good thing. Bad thing is we're in charge of changing everyone's mentality of what the industry can be. And no, it's not that. So like I said, double-edged sword is the best way to phrase it as far as that mentality.
Sure. And how were you introduced to this? Because you mentioned that, you found out about it in your last deployment. So obviously you were still finishing things up in the Marine Corps. And then you find out about this and you're like, okay, hey, this is awesome. And this is like this next step going from military to now entrepreneur space.
Absolutely. So it was actually my wife when I was coming back from my MU, so Marine Expeditionary Unit. I was on an aircraft carrier. I came back and my wife saw it when she was out with some of her girlfriends and was like, oh, Michael would love this. Of course she was right. So we went to go do it. It was in Wilmington, North Carolina, because I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. And so we went, had an awesome time. And then I had a mandatory fun day with my Marines where they were voluntold, we're going to go to Battle House and have a good time. They had an amazing time. I approached the manager at the time and was like, hey, are y'all franchising it? What does that look like? Is this technology patented? Like, just what's some information? And he was like, yeah, go online. You can set an inquiry. So that's what I did. And I was like, hey, my name is Michael. I'm about to get out of the Marines. Rightfully so. They were kind of like grilling me with questions. Cause I was going to be the first franchisee. And they're like, hey, this is what you need. This is how much. This is what's going to take. And I'm like, got it. I don't have that right now. So then I was transitioning out of the Marine Corps, talking to my wife. I was like, okay, I really want to do this. So I just started getting, my ducks in a row and figuring out how do I put together what they want so I can make this happen. And I actually went to this thing called EBV, an entrepreneurship bootcamp for veterans, hosted by A&M. And it's an amazing program for any veteran can go. You just apply. You have to get a letter of recommendation and have a business idea. And they really helped me because I had the idea. I knew what I needed. And then they came alongside. I got a lot of mentors and then helped put together like a pitch deck, P&L for 3 years. And then I have a marketing background. So then I reapproached them and was like, hey, here's all of this stuff. I was serious. I want to open one. Here's all this information. Here's my background. And then they were like, oh, okay, let's start this journey.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. In 2019-ish.
Okay. And then you opened up in 2022, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. No, and it's definitely a journey, to, especially, I think the first time you become an entrepreneur, but I know we talked off camera because you kind of grew up in that space. Your parents have their own business as well, correct? And so you've kind of been a little bit immersed in that. So you understand kind of, I say, the culture of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So That is correct. My parents did open up a Christian Brothers automotive repair shop out in Salina, and I was fortunate to do all their marketing for them. So I saw a lot of behind the scenes of a huge franchise, and just gleaned as much wisdom as I could from people I interacted with, and amazing organization and people. And then I was actually blessed because they trusted me with their marketing, that I could just dive into it, and basically a marketing manager. Went out in the communities. Okay, this is what I need to do. These are, okay, the chamber, work that, and then, okay, what about this franchise question? Like, how does that structure work? And then could bring all that to the table. But before that, my dad was in pharmaceutical sales, and he specialized in startups. So all growing up, just subconsciously always seeing that and hearing that, I know that plays into that entrepreneurial bone in my body. And my sister also has that kick or that drive as well. And so definitely credit to my parents for sure.
Yeah, you can. I always say, well, we used to say, I told you that I came from the Mary Kay background, and I was in that network marketing space for a really long time. And we used to always say that with kids, more is caught than taught. They pick up on so much of what they see their parents do day in and day out. And, I attribute a lot of my entrepreneur success and the things that I've done, to my parents, because they were entrepreneurs as well. From, I was telling someone the other day how this is back in the 80s, when they used to have, before co-op working spaces like the Venture X and these places that you see, they used to have these executive suites, and they would have like a bunch of offices in like a main office. And there would be like a switchboard person who would answer the phone, direct the calls, do their typing. My mom had one of those. And so she would do their bookkeeping, and she offered all these different services that they could basically pay her to do. And so at a very young age, I started working in there with my mom. I would at times answer the switchboard or do things in the office. And then that kind of led me to other opportunities. And so I do believe, firmly that we pick up a lot of the things that our parents do, both good and bad, but we pick up the things and we learn,
absolutely.
right?
That's for sure.
Yeah. And hopefully, when we get in those spaces, we figure out what we don't want to do and what works. But I do think entrepreneurship is definitely a journey. It's not for the faint of heart. And I think we all have to kind of go through the cycle of, the ups and the downs. And I think it teaches us a lot of valuable life lessons about persistence and tenacity.
I definitely agree. And another big reason was when I got out of the Marine Corps, when you get out of the military, life just slows down so much. I mean, it really does. And so I needed something as intense, and I could focus on something as much. And I do better with responsibility, like that pressure. And it comes from the military. I mean, like you have to perform. Like I said, I was a communications chief for an artillery battery. And I was just like, okay, what do I need to do next? How do I advance? How do I pick up sergeant or E5, which I did? And all right, let me just be really proficient with the radios, all the different kinds, and the plans, and how to talk to higher ups and educate people and go for classes. I'm like, let me just do that and focus on it, and then just keep doing that. So when I got out, I was like, now what? I finished out my degree, and which was great, but I was like, okay, but what's the long-term goal? Like what's going to sustain me, that's going to have that pressure, that responsibility, that's as intense as the military. And so owning a business, I mean, it's not the military, but there's a lot of pressure, and a lot of long hours, and that's what's similar.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that, because I was talking to another guy the other day that I'm putting on the show. He's also, I get a lot of ex-military on my show. He's ex-military, and he's done like several 100-mile races, run them. He does a lot of, he's started like several different businesses, and it's fun because I get athletes on here, military. I feel like they're all different, but there's a lot of core principles that are very similar. When you really start digging into the mindset, it's this determination, it's this level of achievement, like I said, persistence, tenacity to continue doing things. And I think that any entrepreneur that has stayed in the business long enough, that they've really weathered it and stayed in, because most of them don't just get lucky and have do Facebook and all of a sudden do well, right? That doesn't happen. Most of us have to work hard and grind every single day. And so I think that there's that level like you're talking about, and where you're just, you don't stop just because it's 5 o'clock. Your work goes, and that you're trying to build something and move something forward, that you're going to put in the work and the long hours and the time because it's yours and you own it.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. And with owning it, it's however many hours I put in, it's 10 times more rewarding, because I can directly impact all the aspects. Not to say I do everything on my own, because I don't. I rely on the franchisors, mentors. I ask the questions, but at the end of the day, it's my decision. I have to be in the building way past hours. I need to start doing construction. It's like, I don't care. Whatever I need to do, I'll make time. I'll make it happen. I'll learn how to work on the guns. I'll learn how to replace certain parts. That's just what needs to get done. And it's as simple as that. And you just have to do it. I mean, you can talk about it all day and theorize, but you need to just do it at some point. Right. Definitely plan and strategize, but you gotta pull the trigger.
Pull. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. You can't toe dip. You're going to have to dive in. I said that yesterday. We were talking about, somebody said jumping off the dock. And I said, yeah, I think a lot of people, they stick their toe in the water and then they go, ooh, that's cold. And then they back out. No, sometimes you just got to plunge in. Like, you don't even stick your toe in, you just dive in, And I do think that is the one thing that, when I talk to entrepreneurs, and I don't know, you network like I do, so you're probably, figuring this out. That's the one thing that's interesting about entrepreneurs, because they just do crazy things sometimes. And, and I always say that, like, I don't know how if you look at things like this, but I sort of look at entrepreneurship like every day there's going to be like hell to pay. There's going to be something that I have to do, right? It's just, to what extent is it going to be and how am I going to navigate through it, And so I don't really look at it as, is there going to be something? I just know there's going to be work and there's going to be something, and something could not go the way I planned it. So I'm probably going to need to figure out how to navigate around it. It's just problem solving.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I might not be currently doing something as far as like in the business talking with somebody, but it's always going on up in your head. And it's like, okay, I know like 2 weeks from now I have that. I have to go to this networking event. Like, I have the calendar, but it's just wheels are always turning at all times. And it's like sitting down and eating. I'm like, okay, it's just always in the background of like, all right, remember I got to do this. I got to do that. Oh, I got to talk to that person. I got to yell at that person. I got to correct this person, train that person. It's always going.
I always say, I hope that I think part of it is probably because you love what you're doing too. And I think that's part of it. I think when we love what we do, it sort of kind of becomes part of our lives. And so it really just sort of floats into all the areas. You know what I'm saying? There's no real compartmentalizing this, because it is who you are. It's your existence. It's not like your 8 to 5 where you go in, and not to demean that in any way. There are a lot of people that's a reputable position, but it's different because you're not leaving that at the door when you walk out, right? Like it's there, and you have to be thinking on all the different roles that you're playing as an entrepreneur, whether it's the training or it's the payroll or it's the marketing or it's the person fixing the guns, whatever all these pieces are. You've got all these people, and some of those you've delegated out. Some of them you're having to manage. And so you're constantly having to say, what fires do I need to be putting out in what areas? Right. So I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really fortunate that someone I served with in the Marines, actually from California, he came and visited a long time ago. And then I was like, hey, if you ever, want to come out here and help me, like, let me know. I'm growing this thing. And then he finally made the decision. He moved here like last week. And so he's going to start the managerial position. And I'm like, awesome. I'm glad you can come here. And he did it, moved here, and he has that same drive. And he's like, let's do it. What do you need me to do? I'm like, hey, I'll train you. Let's figure this out. We have really, really good training. I have an amazing team. A lot of them are in high school, and I mean, they're rock stars. I mean, it's a lot of training. It's a lot of public speaking. It's a lot of real world skills at Battle House, which you wouldn't think, because you're like, oh, it's laser tag. I'm like, yeah, but in the back, the high schoolers, they're the refs. They're in charge of safety brief, gun ops brief, getting the gear on and off, correcting people if they're cheating. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're 8 or 29 or 57 or 73. It doesn't matter. If they're breaking the rule, now you need to know how to talk to them and have tact, which is the public speaking and communication skills. But hey, you need to go up to them and be like, sir, I need you to stop doing this because it's a safety concern. Just that confrontation, like there's not a lot of skills like that. Yeah. And talking to, even if everything is going smooth, they have to talk to 36 people potentially at a time. And I'm like, and then how do you get their attention without yelling and using the crowd? Like, hey, we need y'all to listen. Otherwise it's going to eat into your time. Or like kind of joking around with the younger ones. Like, hey, I guess your friends don't want to play. And then they turn around and like, hey, shut up. Like, we're trying to play. And like those skills you got to learn. And it's more complicated than just briefing rules. Yeah. Which is really cool to see them
do that. Yeah. Well, and the best way to learn is to be in that having to do that activity, right? Like that's the best way we learn is either teaching other people or having to physically do the things ourselves. And so what better way to teach without teaching? You know what I mean? Like I always feel like it's hard to teach somebody something by telling them to do something. Like you can't say this, like they have to be in real time moment doing it, because then they remember if there's an applicable real life story that's going on and they've had to play that out. And we tend to remember those more than somebody putting something on a paper and saying, hey, go memorize a script. This is what you need to say to your people. I mean, yes, we have to have that sometimes if we're doing briefings or whatever, and there are times those are necessary, but real life skills, right? That communication has to be built over and over with real life experiences. So I think it's awesome. And what a great way to help like the young people, because communication, that's a hard thing. I mean, and they don't really, unless you took like some kind of public speaking in high school. I mean, I was in speech, but I don't remember doing that kind of stuff. And I had no real experience public speaking. I even took it in college and I sucked. I didn't get it until I got forced. I went into Mary Kay and then I had to start doing presentations, and all of a sudden I'm thrown out there and I have to start doing this. And then I got to start training. And so then I had to get really good at talking and communicating,
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good. So what do you feel like has been, you've said a lot of really good things here, and you may have already kind of answered this, I think, in some way, because with the military experience, but what do you feel like has been maybe the biggest contributing factor to your success? Is it maybe mentorship, you think, or is it your military background? Maybe all of it.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Definitely the support of family, which is, it's kind of ironic because my parents got divorced really young. Okay. But they were always there still. And then Jan, my stepmom, came alongside and she did an amazing job helping raise me. And so I had 3 parents and a sister who I'm really close with. So just from the get-go, after that rocky situation and getting out of it, really could come together and really close family. And we have a huge extended family. We know all of them. So just that foundation of family and support was huge. And then, like, for example, when I left college, they were just kind of like, okay, if that's not the next step, it's fine. We'll figure it out. And then when I joined the Marines, they were very proud because I came home and I'm like, hey, I joined the Marine Corps. I mean, it was seriously as cut and dry as that. And my dad was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Because my grandpa was in the Army. My other grandpa was in the Air Force, and my uncle was in the Marines. So then the next thing would be that layers on top of that is definitely the Marine Corps. Going in a little bit older also really helped because I went to college for 3 semesters. So it wasn't right out of high school. So I had time on my own to, figure out a little bit who I was. So I went to the Marine Corps. I had more of character and less fluid, if that would make sense. And so then the Marine Corps is built upon that. And like I was saying earlier, just figuring out, hey, how do I just get better? Can I go to classes? Oh, I just need to listen to what I'm told. I need to wear what I'm supposed to wear. I need to show up when I'm supposed to show up, and then start progressing after that. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're trusting me with more responsibility directly because I'm getting more proficient. So I'm like, okay, that's an awesome thing to know. So that drive. And then when I got out, just taking those lessons, and then the franchising with Christian Brothers really helped. And then finishing college and then meeting my wife really helped. She's why I can stay sane, and she keeps me on track because I am the very outgoing entrepreneurial. She is a very good studious. She's a registered dietitian, very smart, very patient. And so we balance each other out perfectly. And so that would be kind of like the final layer that really helps me be who I am and succeed.
I'm really impressed with what you were saying about your family, because I think, like when you were talking about them being divorced, but the support system, I think, because that is not necessarily a normal thing. That's kind of a unique deal that you had such great support. And I commend you and your family for that, because it's obviously played well for you and it's allowed you to do what you need to do and feel safe in that environment and be able to transition. Huge thing. I just had a whole conversation. I had an adulting coach come on who she works with students basically that are graduating from high school and they're making that transition to college. And we were talking about that, a lot of times parents, I have adult children. My youngest just graduated last year and he's kind of in this, I think I shared with you, he traveled for 6 months and now he's back, he's working, he's hoping to go to college in the fall, but sort of in that transitory stage. And I feel like all three of mine have sort of been in that stage. And I've had to really learn to just embrace where they are and say, you know, like, this is their journey. They have to find their way. I can't, because if I told you really, if I were to tell you that any of them did anything I wanted, I would be lying to you, because not a one of them did. They have all been on their own paths, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's impressive, because I think that is so hard sometimes for parents, you know, to be able to fully say, hey, I embrace you where you are. This is your journey. Good for you. And I admire that. I do, because that's kind of where I've had to get with my kids. It's like, hey, I don't agree with everything they do all the time, but it is their journey. I love them where they are, and I'll let them go. So, and it set you up well. So commending to your parents. That's what I want to say. It's a commending.
Thank you. No, absolutely. And at first, I mean, also for better or for worse, it made my sister and I grow up pretty fast. Again, for better or for worse, there's a lot there to, you know, chew on, but
sure.
I mean, that really did help. We had to deal with things and grow and rely on each other, and it forced us to grow. So that helps.
Yeah, there's always pros and cons to this, but I think you've got to, and despite in that, like, you guys had kind of a unique situation, and obviously it's turned out you guys have done okay for yourself, and you're doing great things, which is what you, as parents, we hope our kids do, right? Is do great things. So I love it. And we did talk about, you know, your wife being a great support system, which I think is good too. I think that, you know, if you have a spouse that's encouraging you along the way as an entrepreneur, because it's not an easy ride for them to live the life with an entrepreneur, because it's like a roller coaster for them. They're having to watch the, you know, they want the stability and everything to be that, like, you know, a certain way. And then they're looking at this entrepreneurial journey, and it is absolutely a roller coaster ride.
Absolutely.
So she gets commending too for that, a pat on the back for sticking with you on that part of it, because I know it's not easy. So good stuff. So I guess my final question before I ask you a couple fun ones, I want to know, like, what do you see happening with, like, what's the big goal with this Battle House? What do we want this thing to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely want to grow it. We as Battle House corporate, like Universal Battle House, we just want to keep growing it, open more franchises. Me personally, I want to own Texas and open multiple in Texas and have a couple, but then really help other franchisees. You know, they can come to me for coaching, and they can come to my stores, like, okay, this is how it's run for training. Because all the other locations are in North Carolina. There's 2 in North Carolina, 1 in Wisconsin, 1 in Illinois. And so, you know, Central America, or, you know, US is me. And so that would be the best future. That would be what I'm looking for in the future, is to help others open up battle houses.
Love it. Love it. So I met one other guy that came on here a long time ago. He was a young entrepreneur. He had several franchises by the time he was 24. He was just like rocking it out. And he ended up, I think he worked with Grant Cardone. I don't know if you've heard Grant Cardone. He's in the real estate industry, but he does like the 10X factor stuff. Worked with him. But when you were talking about that, it kind of reminded me of him. He's like a powerhouse. He still is, but he was like young, had all these franchises that he built out and just did really well, really fast. And so, I just want to say good luck to you on that. Go do what you got to do and make it happen. You know, and if you need me to connect you to him, I will totally connect you to him. So he's an awesome guy. Awesome guy.
Absolutely.
So I do want to ask you a couple fun questions. I don't know what that beep was that we just got. I have no idea what that was, but let's do a couple fun questions. So, because I think I always like to do these rapid fire. I did this on somebody yesterday, and he was like, "These are not rapid fire." And I said, "Well, I try." I try. All right. So I want to ask you, like, what is your favorite guilty pleasure food? Like, what's the one thing that you love that's just probably, you shouldn't eat it, but it's good?
That's a good one. Baked goods. I don't like candy or like
just any baked good.
Borderline. Yeah, pretty much any baked goods. Because I know people like, oh, I like candy. I like chocolate. I like this, or like cupcakes or like muffins. Like, that's, you got me.
Gotcha. I know somebody said it was like chocolate. And I'm like, well, chocolate could kind of not be technically so bad. I mean, if you eat dark chocolate, not a lot of it, you know. I always like that question. It's fun. All right. I want us to ask, like, where's the coolest place you've been? Because you've been to a lot of places. So where's like the coolest place you've been to?
So if we go coolest temperature wise, Norway was so cold. It was very, very, very cold, but it was absolutely gorgeous. We actually were knocking on like farmers' doors, like, hey, can we put our howitzers, the cannons, in your backyard? And they're
Wow.
like, oh we love America. Like, yeah, come on. And I'm like, all right. So the engineers would like make a gun position with giant berms. So like, because the snow's there, they have to make it flat for the cannons to sit.
Yeah.
And just these giant walls of snow would be around us. And then we'd cannons in the middle of Norway. And we would like sleep, and we'd open up like the tarp to look out, and it's just like perfect, pristine snow and mountains. And it was gorgeous. And then a close second is Israel. It was a really cool place to go. We got to go on a cultural tour, which was really good. It was very, very powerful. Very blessed to see Israel and just the history, and it meant a lot for sure. Just visiting all of the religious sites, and I was just like, this is very powerful and amazing. So those two, definitely the top.
Very cool. I know I've looked at your list of stuff, and I'm like, how many people will ever get to go to this many places in their lifetime? You know, like I've never been to any of those places. So I know people that have been to Africa. I have a client that I coach that's in Spain. So, I mean, it's the closest I've been there. So she lives by the beach. And every time I talk to her, I'm just like, can you just like go outside, send me a picture, you know, like sit outside by your, your
for
beach
sure.
life.
You guys like the same thing.
Right. Yeah. All right. This is kind of a fun question. You might like this one. I haven't asked this one in a while. So if you had to sum you up in one word, like one word, Michael is, what would that be?
That's a good one. There's a lot of words out there. I'd say blessed. It really comes, I mean, it just boils down to that. Very, very fortunate of a lot of things. Like I said, my path was not linear by any means.
Right.
And it still isn't. I mean, it definitely isn't. And so just the fact that the support system, and we go to an amazing church and life group, small group, mentors that I can call upon, and just, I mean, you can't even look back and be like, oh yeah, that was just all coincidence. And I'm like, you know, whatever your beliefs are, but I'm like, no, like that was God's will. There was a path, you know, obviously personally with my beliefs. And I'm just like very, very blessed. Met my wife, you know, being back in Texas, opening this business, being safe in the Marine Corps and coming back, the amazing people that I've met. And then also, though, it sounds weird, but blessed that I went through some hardships and challenges, because you can't grow if you don't go through these challenges and these hardships. When I got back from my last deployment, my mom passed away, and that was extremely difficult to deal with. But, you know, I was very blessed that I was at least stateside, and I could see her, and I could go to the funeral, because I don't know what I would do if I was stuck on a ship in the middle of the ocean. Like, I don't know mentally where I'd be. And so just a lot of things like that. Just very blessed is the best word I could use.
That's a good word. I haven't had anybody say that. That's actually a good word. I haven't asked this question in a while. I used to ask it all the time. I like it. And it's hard for some people to do that because they have to really think about how to come up with something. But I like it because it can be whatever you want it to be, you know, like where you're at in that moment. So I think that's great. And I didn't know about your mom. And so, you know, I didn't realize you had to go through that. And so those hardships, it's sad. I always say that, you know, like, I think they help us get where we need to be, to the next destination. It's unfortunate. It's part of life that we have to go through these things, but I do think they make us stronger and help us get to the next place we need to be. And they bring other opportunities that might not have ever happened, you know?
No,
I think
absolutely.
you see that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people see, no matter what industry you're in, however successful you are, they'll just see that. They only see, you know, what's there, and they don't know what's under the surface. You know, for right or wrong, like, you don't need to tell everyone everything about your life. But it's like, hey, why don't you give them benefit of the doubt? Like, they could be going through something right now, or they could have had a miserable, horrendous like childhood. It's like, don't judge them like, oh, they're really successful, they're probably a piece of crap. And it's like, really, like, who are you? Like, you know what I mean? It's just that's something that's kind of frustrating, when people say those things, or not give the benefit of the doubt, or just not being just nice people. It's like, hey, you know, they're probably a great person. Now, given they, you know, there are some bad apples or, you know, selfish people, but not everyone. Like, it doesn't matter. They worked hard and they earned it.
That's right. And everybody that comes on my show is an amazing human being. That's what I will
Heck
say.
yeah.
Because every person that has been on my show, I have met some people with some really incredible stories. I mean, things you just wouldn't even imagine. And, but I will say everybody that comes on here, because I vet every single person that comes on between my two shows. And I always make sure that they have good human character. That is more important to me than anything, is the character of the human being. And so, yeah, I love what you're doing, Michael, and I want to, congratulate you and wish you much success going forward, and hope you get some more of these franchise set up and move into that space where you get to mentor and help other people and do the things that you were given, be able to pass that on and leave a legacy for others. So I think it's awesome. If our audience wants to get in touch with you, maybe they want to come out to Battle House and see what it's about, or check you out, learn a little bit more about you, where do you want us to send them?
Yeah, so they can go to battlehouse.net. That'll take you to our homepage, and then you can pick your location. Like I said, we have some in North Carolina, Illinois, Wisconsin, and then Texas, specifically Plano. So website's the best way to go if you are in Plano or the surrounding areas. We're off of Quayton Park in Frisco. But the website, picking your battle time, is probably the best way to go. Or any of our social medias. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and you can check us out there.
Awesome stuff, Michael. This has been fun. Appreciate you being on here and being authentic and sharing your story with us today. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for saying I'm a good character qualities. That means a lot. Try to present myself as best I can. Very blessed, again, to be on the show and to be where I'm at.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we do want to say to our audience, of course, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you go check us out. Apple, give us a rating over there. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube so we can keep sharing all these incredible stories. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care. Be safe. Be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.